focus.
Mm-hmm.
Doggy, I remember that calypso, Doggy focus, he really focus. He focus on the bypass road. Bro, that was the funniest calypso song at that point in time because I think it was that song that I really understood how much calypso is just a play on words. Because
Yes.
focus, I was just like, wow, wow.
Yes.
That was very
Yes.
interesting. Listen,
Yeah. It's kind of so fun. Like, bro, like every year something dramatic happens in Martin. And they'll be like, let me go right up.
bro.
Like, I gotta go sing about this. Me, mind you, me got me is a backup alto. So I not going on nobody's stage
So Lord chat shippiness.
to sing but I got things to write about.
I think you would make a good calypso, a good calypsonian. You write very, very well, and I know that you put them words together to get some
Blows.
serious blow, bro. You what?
Blows. Yeah,
Just one year to it.
I got people to sing about, but then I might have to like not live on sing that and for a while.
Oh my Jesus.
Oh we go.
Don't mix me.
With that being said, hello. Welcome to the You Chat Too Much podcast. This is episode 2 and we're back. I am your host Camila Gomes. And should I introduce my guest? Like, should I really be that nice and actually introduce my guest? Or should I just be like, you should know who he is anyways, because if you don't, you live under a rock. And it's not the rock that's higher than I. No, you live under another rock. All right. Anyways, guys, my guest today is Dr. You heard that right. Dr. Dennis McCall Jr. And he's a sustainability driven aviation expert from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis with a passion for air transport in small island development states. He a lecturer and a course leader at Teesside University. So he in a backyard in the England somewhere behind somewhere to a corner. I can't really explain it. And he holds a PhD in air transport management, specializing in sustainable aviation. Again, Dennis is everything, guys. He's a farmer, St. Kitts youth parliamentarian, and a character. And he also likes to blend academia, leadership, and real-world impact. He has spoken at global conferences, shaping conversation about aviation's future, youth development. And one thing about him, whether he's in the classroom or on the stage, he's all about innovation, sustainability, and making a difference in the skies and beyond. Dennis! Hi.
Oh my gosh. I feel like this whole podcast could just be us just cackling.
Drinking game. Take a shot every time we laugh.
They'll be stumbling. They'll be stumbling at the end of the game. Oh my days, man.
Honestly, and you didn't put it in your bio, but I feel like I need to tell the people then. Right? Mm-hmm. You recently crossed the stage for your PhD.
Come on now.
Big doctor. Right?
Come on now.
The doctor. But what the people need to know is that not only just you're the doctor, you're the first at your university to have this specific PhD. The first.
Yeah,
oh, no.
Boy.
Number one. That's a big deal.
Crazy. Yeah, it I don't know. It really and truly made me feel like really good. And I think I only deeped it. I think it was yesterday or something like that when I was editing a TikTok video. I was just like, bro, sorry, you're the first for the PhD, And I was also the first for the master's program as well too. I was part of the first cohort for the air transport management program, and then I was the first for the PhD as well. And it was like, oh no, it was just a really really great moment to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
And just reflecting on it, I'm just grateful. Like I'm grateful for people like you. Like you spent hours reading through my thesis, and
Yes.
that's it was what 400 something pages I think it is
It was a
worth
lot.
of stuff. It was a whole lot. It really was a
So
whole lot. And I just think that I have a very, very good support system. God, give a shout out to the big dog upstairs,
you're
God, because I don't know. I had to call on him a lot of times, like
Mhm.
through tears. Cam, you know me tear, bro. Cam, you know my rant sessions. We're doing this
Iconic,
PhD.
iconic,
you
honestly,
know,
iconic rant
bro,
sessions.
you know how I was feeling just
Yes.
doing research in the Caribbean, and I think other people would understand how frustrating
So
and time
bad.
consuming it is doing
Mm-hmm.
research in the Caribbean. But you know, 4 years later, we hear big Dr. D, the aviation doctor, so it was worth it in the end. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without my support system, to be fair. I really, really wouldn't have been able to
Mm-hmm.
do it without you guys and just my family, my mama, and my sister, my little cousin as well, and my other extended family. Like these man used to encourage me so much. I mean, you with Cavill family. I know lots of people like you went to uni and yeah, you at uni and you make a family or you make friends and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I feel like the family that you make at UE, and no offense to anybody that did not go to UE, right? But
Taking
that
all
family
offense right
are your
now.
business. That nobody send you up in the states are your business. I feel like the family that you make at UE is on a
Mm-hmm.
different level. It's really and truly on a different level, and these men have been like my cheerleaders, bro. Even through all
Mm-hmm.
the rants, like when I wanted suggestions about how to phrase different things or how they feel about different suggestions that I was making, yo, these men was just right there. They weren't in front of me, but virtually
Mm-hmm.
they were just, Dennis, go, 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 go. So I really, really do appreciate them, for real. So big up to you guys. Is this how you do the hard thing? Yeah. Big up to you guys. I really, really, appreciate you guys.
Big up to you, Cavill, one time. I'm just going to claim it. I'm gonna claim it through lineage because my mom went
Yeah,
there. So
yeah. To be fair, just claim it. Just,
yeah,
just, just claim
my
it.
mommy
We're
went there.
all one big Blackbird family. Just
Yes,
claim it for
go
now.
Blackbirds. Mind you, I've never been to Barbados a day in my life. Anyways,
Oh, well.
but you tapped on something that is so real to my reality right now. Researching in the Caribbean. So for the class that I'm taking this semester, my professor is very adamant on meet with the university librarian and they're going to help you find some resources. And I had to laugh to myself and I said, I am going to stress out this poor woman looking for
Oh,
specific
Lord.
research for St.
Mm-hmm.
Martin. And we sat on the Zoom and she shared her screen and we're looking and we're looking and we're looking. And she like, why can't I find anything? And I'm like, ma'am, that's how it goes. And then we even
Right.
reached to the Dutch website. And she said, oh, Dutch Caribbean. So she's like, yeah, I'm going to find information. And then she goes and she goes, oh, this just says Saba, St. Lucia, and Bonaire. I said, mm-hmm,
Expected.
mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised.
And I was just like, I guess this is kind of like saddest, but like I kind of felt a little happy that someone else was like experiencing my struggle because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, I need to pull census data, and every time I try to download the documents from our departments of stats, Google Chrome flags it and is like, "You sure you want? Don't. This website is unsecure." I'm just like,
Mm-hmm. Bruh.
I'm like, yeah, let me take the risk. I'm gonna take the risk because I need this information so I can do my
Mm-hmm.
assignment. And I do it to
Yeah.
myself every semester, every class. I'm going to focus on the Caribbean. I'm going to focus on St. Martin. And then I get halfway through data collection and I'm just like, is this self hate? Like, like,
Oh
what
wow, I
is
felt.
this? What is this?
I
And so
felt.
I'm just like, hey, at Caribbean governments, all how many of you countries, islands, and territories,
Hmm.
publish your data, please.
And it's even just like about publishing the data, make it accessible, please.
Yes.
I beg, just make it very much accessible because research is so important in the Caribbean. Like we can't fix the problems that are there without the research. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
must got some sort of evidence. You must got some sort of backing in order to, make things work. I'm sure they've tried many solutions, in the past, and clearly it never worked. So it's like we need the research now to see what you've done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
what did it work, or what has changed over X, Y, Z years. So doing research in the Caribbean is a struggle. It
Mm-hmm.
is very much a struggle. And I remember when I was doing my PhD, and I was telling my just more primary data, so like just getting interviews. Cam, you know the story about trying to contact every single Caribbean government, every single Caribbean airport as well. To this day, I've sent out some emails since 2021, 2022. Bro, these man ain't even bat an eye to ask who you be or to even acknowledge that I was trying to get in contact with you just to have a quick little interview, a quick chat and stuff like this. It's very, very hard. And I remember I was explaining it to my supervisors, and I think because they're so accustomed to developed states having such access to information and people are willing to
Mm-hmm.
participate in research, they could not believe the struggles that I was going through in terms of just get people to respond to me. And I only get through because Angeline Fleming, and I would always big her up at Aruba Airport. I would always big her up. Aruba was having the first sustainable aviation conference for the entire
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean region. Well, it was really and truly the Dutch,
The
but
Dutch
they extended it.
Caribbean, yeah.
Yeah, the cooperation that they have, then extended
Mm-hmm.
it also. And I only so happened to see it on on LinkedIn, and I messaged her about it, and that's exactly how I was able to collect majority of my data by going to the conference itself and speaking to these industry and the different stakeholders within the aviation industry face to face. It was just it was a struggle. You can't
Mm-hmm.
find data and then make it worse. And I know other industries have this problem as well, but within the aviation industry, how data is reported with Latin America. That
Yeah.
is a major problem. It's good. It's really, really good. But this is a major problem when you have like a 300 word document, a report about some problem or whatever. But then you're looking for Caribbean countries and zilch. The most I would
Yep.
have is maybe something from Cuba, or they might have a little something in there from Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic. But then when you're trying to look to see, yo, what these smaller islands are doing, like what
Mm-hmm.
Barbados doing, how do they fit into this? The information is not there.
Mm-hmm.
How can we make some sort of change within the industry if we can't find the relevant data or the relevant information in order to inform those type of solutions? So it was a headache. I remember I was true story by the way. I remember I was crying.
Mm-hmm.
I broke down and I cried because nobody was responding to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if nobody responded to me, how am I gonna collect data?
Yep.
You need data in
Yo.
order to do the PhD. So, and I remember breaking down and I was crying. And I remember I sent the email address to my supervisor and I was like, I'm done. Like nobody's responding. I'm not getting not even a response to emails or anything like that. Nobody taking me on. So I'm just like, I'm done. And
Mm-hmm.
just before they were just like, okay, we understand. And just before I was going to submit the withdrawal form,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I saw Angeline's post on LinkedIn. So It was the
Look at
grand design.
that.
It was the grand design by God Himself
Look at
who set
that.
that into motion. It was, I don't know. I wanted to change my data as well too, so I wanted to focus on other small islands. I wasn't going
Mm-hmm.
to focus on the Caribbean. I wanted to then focus on the Pacific Islands because they've been doing a lot of work as it relates to sustainability, as it relates to ensuring that um, their transportation system is sustainable as well. They have the
Mm-hmm.
same economic structures, the
Mm-hmm.
same set of islands as well, too, in terms of the remoteness, and they rely on regional air transport the same way as we do. So it would have been so much more easier to kind of get that data from them and have
Yeah.
conversations with them. But you know, it just so happened that it worked out best for me, and I just was like, God, whew, thank you for sending Angeline. But on a serious note, in the Caribbean, we need to come better than this. I think we
Yes.
all have different statistical, whatever departments and whatever. We need to come better than this. As young researchers, it's hard, bro. Like we want to
Mm-hmm.
contribute towards the development of the country and stuff like this. But when you have these sort of obstacles in your way, how and it's not even a thing where you say, oh, obstacles are there and you're gonna overcome them. How can you overcome an obstacle with no data? Like the only other option is to maybe just go and bang on the people door, and we can't even travel because, child, that's a conversation for another day. Right? You can't even travel down there to just be knocking on your doors and just be like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do this research, like help me out. Like I don't know how people do it, to be fair. It kind of turned me off from wanting to do more data focusing on the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very difficult, and doing research is already mentally draining.
Yes.
And when you don't have the buy-in from the
Mm-hmm.
stakeholders themselves, it's almost like, so why am I doing it? Like,
Yeah.
what exactly is the purpose of it?
And it's funny, not ha ha funny, but funny, okay, strange that, you know, every time you're gonna get your leaders on the platform always talking about it is important for us to invest in our youth in our young professionals and capacity building and capacity driven things, and we need to do the research so we can improve ourselves, especially now in our, you know, the climate is doing whatever it wants to do, and we're gonna be the first ones to get mashed up,
To
right?
be sure.
So even in that type of era, when we talk about people in those sciences that, dealing with the research and looking at your core reefs and stuff, and like, yeah, we need to protect this, but then we're also signing off for these major developments that destroy our natural environment, or we're also what you might call it, you know,
Bruh,
how
I
how
don't hear
how
you.
how am I going to say this without? Anyways, there
Say,
was a
mash some
certain
people con.
at a
Mash
certain
some people
point.
con. Go ahead.
There was at a particular time, a couple years ago, that mangroves by one of our freshwater ponds were uprooted by the then minister of infrastructure, spatial planning, and environment, yada 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 yada. And his explanation was that it was a hazard for the cars, and then also because of the location, like you turn in a corner to go over a bridge to go over the pond. And then also his explanation was like, yeah, and it was taking up capacity in the pond. Me and mind you, them tell me I was so bad at science I couldn't do the science package in high school. Okay. all the science, all the science capabilities that is in my family did not reach this cabeza. But I know that mangroves are the most beneficial things to our ecosystem, especially our ponds, especially our freshwater ponds.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, look at me, who barely passed second form integrated science, who took human and social biology, so I didn't have to write the CSEC exam,
Wow, that's crazy.
could tell you that hello, I have questions. I have so many questions and nobody giving me
Mm,
adequate answers. And
mm,
it's things like that in general, like just doing the research, no matter what field you're in, feels like you pull in hairs one by one.
mm-hmm,
And it's
mm-hmm.
discouraging. And then you're trying to figure out why nobody coming back home. Because one,
I know.
you give them a hell of water to just try to get a little degree that, by the way, when you get the degree, them all of a sudden is number one fan, top priority. Oh my gosh, you have done so well for the country, and the country supports you, and the country loves you, and the country does this, and the country does that. Meanwhile, you ask the country for money, them tell you no.
This
You
is some
ask
amazing
the
water. Like,
you ask the country,
wow.
you ask the country for the data for you to graduate for the same degree that them put you on the highest pedestal for. Them say no, but I must
Ooh,
contribute. And you know me, I'm team. I will always love my country, so I gonna be the foolish one that come back and be like I gonna contribute. But I understand the older I get, the more and more I understand when people like, yeah, I'm gonna go home.
mm, no, come, Gab. Ah, I completely understand it, and I know that there's a lot of different studies out there that are talking about brain drain. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
if there are studies in the Caribbean that focus primarily on the
I think
Caribbean,
so,
but
but I
I'm
have
not
to double check.
100% sure. I know Travis Bell, his master's research was looking at brain drain in the Caribbean and the reason why students stay in the United States of America. I think he published it as well too, and I'm not 100% sure. I think he did publish it as well, so it's available there to read. But I completely understand why brain drain happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we complain a lot. We complain a lot and say that yes, it's important for you to go home and stuff like that. But when you go home, what is there for you to do? There's literally nothing there for you to do. And you can love your country as much as you possibly can, but the love that you have for your country is not going to pay back the bank and the student loan. Like we really gotta be realistic about it. We know that with inflation, we know that with the economic challenges that we have right now, we just can't just get up and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna go back home. Like
Yeah.
it's something that's very, very hard to do. And especially whenever you have a degree within a specialized area where your country or your region doesn't really and truly look at this particular area, it's very, 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 very hard. You can love your country from now to the kingdom come. You could always go back and support. You could volunteer to help with different projects and stuff. Well, let me backtrack. Not volunteer. You could get paid to do those different
You
projects
you
because
you're the expert.
when it's time for different organization and governments to hire other people that are not from the country, they're willing to shell up that money. So if I'm the expert within that particular field, you should be able to shell up that money. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
taking tanks. Tanks can't go down Rams to buy a pound of flour or some margarine to make some Johnny cake, right? It
Yup.
can't. It can't. But I want us to stop playing in young people's faces. We really need to stop playing in young people's faces talking about, yes, come home and develop the country. Yes, I can come home and develop the country. But what resources are available for me who do so?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be willing to open up your ears and listen to what changes need to be done in order to progress the nation forward. And this is something that would always hold dear to my heart. And in crossing the stage, I think it was in crossing the stage on Wednesday, a lot of the comments and a lot of things that people been telling my family and they be telling me is like, oh, is he coming home? Like, yeah, man, come home and fix the regional aviation and stuff like
I
that.
mean, you have to
I
do
would
that though. Like, I'm
I would
sorry,
I would I
yeah,
would love to. I would really love to,
not a
but
choice.
the resources aren't there at the moment.
Hmm.
And the resources aren't there at the moment to do so. And even from my own research, from my PhD, and looking at research that the Caribbean Development Bank has done, looking at research as the World Development Bank has done before, they've put recommendations to these governments time and time again in order to fix that regional aviation problem. But they're just not doing it. They're just not putting those recommendations in, and that's the sad reality about it. For example, for me, I would, to be fair, Cam, I would love to come home. I
Hmm.
actually I don't mind the idea of actually coming back home. I would love to see our airports incorporating a lot more sustainability into their planning. I would love
Hmm.
one of the things coming out in the Caribbean right now. I know that the Dutch Caribbean, that is something that they do really good. It's embedded into their airport planning stuff. Looking at Curacao, looking at Aruba, for example,
Hmm.
even Saint Martin, it's embedded into their plans. But as much as we talk about how the Caribbean is vulnerable to climate change and stuff like that, we need to be sustainable. It's kind of like all talks. If you really and truly want to be sustainable, if you're relying so heavily on this mode of transportation, you have to embed some sort of sustainability into it. And building a little piece of solar farm is not embedding sustainability into your actual operations of your entire airports, even looking at the seaports as well. So
Hmm.
brain drain happens, just going back because I feel like I went on a tangent there. Just going back to what we're talking about with brain drain, it happens because resources aren't there. It happens because as young people with the critical thinking skills that we've learned from doing degree after degree after degree, we're not going to allow people to play in our faces. You're gonna pay me what I'm worth, first of all.
Yeah.
Two, you need to have the resources available. Three, I'm not coming there to talk to a brick wall. Because when the international man come to the country and talk to Wada, you're having a good dialogue with it, and this is something that I'm very, 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 very much for. Like, if you want people to come home, do the right thing. Do the right thing. And don't make them come home to sit down in an office doing something that's completely different to their degree. If you need to send people home, send them home. If they're there for years, send them home. Just a pick up space and dusting the people in them office. Send them home, man. You got some bright young minds who spend thousands of dollars having more um qualifications, to be quite honest, about particular issues within a department or something like that. It really isn't that complicated, You can't complain time and time and time and time again and then do nothing about it. Nobody ain't coming back just for scraps. Like, let's be realistic. I'm not talking about myself. Just so y'all know, I'm talking about in general. I'm talking about in general because I know the girlies like to like to fight.
To
They
tussle.
like to tussle.
I like to tussle.
They like to tussle. But really, we're not coming back from scraps, bro. Like, I think when we're when we're in the US or in the UK or in the Netherlands as well, we're able to see that within our different fields, we could feel the change that we're making.
Yeah.
And then it's like when you go home, they say young people are the future of tomorrow, but you're not giving them that space for them to be even the future of tomorrow. So it's like I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what to tell them. I would tell people like if you're thinking about go home, think about it logically. Ensure that you have a good plan when you're going back home. Don't let nobody play in your face. And that's something that's very, very important. And always have a paper trail. If they tell you one thing on the call,
Yes.
send an email to say,
Yes.
hi, thank you for meeting with me today. I'm just confirming what was said on the call. have that paper trail. Because I remember a situation with one of my friends. He was leaving to go back to his country, and they told him one thing on the call, and just before he boarded his flight to go back home, they tell him, "Yeah, never mind, bruh, bruh."
Never
So
mind.
do not let these people play in your face. You could love your
Never
country from now
mind.
to the kingdom come. You could love your country from the UK. You could love the country from the USA, and you could make a big impact from those different places as well. Cam, when I tell you these people, they play in people's faces too much. Like, no, the bro, businesses and governments, we need to hold them a whole lot more accountable.
Yes, for
They are
sure.
really and truly the reason why brain drain happens within the Caribbean. But you know,
Never mind. I'm
oh,
sorry. I'm sorry. Never mind. No, if he had never mind them a slap, he would have been wrong.
I told him he should have got a lawyer. But anyway, everybody ain't like me that willing to take a fight, eh? Because if I saw something like that before I boarded a flight to go home, it would be problems.
After you done put up everything, sell off everything, give off everything you have.
Bro, don't I don't know why people continue to play in people's faces like this and then expect after you done get your degree, after you maybe find a job up here or wherever you are, then to come home for them to just downplay your accomplishments and to downplay you just because of your age as well too. Like, nah, that's not how this works. Not in this economic climate at all. I can't, as I said before, I can't go Rams, I can't go Best Boy, I can't go Carciless to say, here's an IOU, here's a tank. How much for the floor? 2 tanks. Like, bro, it doesn't work like that. Stop playing in people's face, and then you would see your problems with brain drain being
Boy,
solved. But,
a
you
pound
know,
of flour costs 5 tanks. Here you go. If only
oh
if it
my
was that
days.
simple.
Listen, I would have print off all them comments on Facebook and I would have go supermarket and I was like, for everything I buy, just cross out the comments. Each comment is $1. That's for all it takes. If they thank you on the radio, that's like $50 there. You know? These men are crazy. You think you're gonna play in my
No,
face?
no, no,
That's
what
not how it
the
works.
request that goes on the morning radio programs where somebody reads off the special after the birthdays, they say, and a special congratulations out to that
Bro,
it's McCall Jr. and his mother and extended family for all his
man,
hard work.
$500 right there because it's extra special and it's on morning radio.
But the
Let me
first
start. Let me
thing
stop playing. See,
the first thing they hear when people then wake up, yamp in
right?
eye.
First thing them here, like, bro, no,
Oh,
y'all gotta stop playing with people face
honestly,
in people
that's
faces like that.
so crazy. But then I have a question. So know you
Sure,
for some
shoot.
time. Cause ooh, I ain't gonna
Probably more than 10 years, you know.
almost 10 years. Almost
Yeah,
10.
so
Yeah, cause 2016. Yeah, man, we in 2026 yet. Almost 10 years.
almost 10. Yeah, that's almost 10 for real, yeah.
And when I first know you, me know you as chef, as mix up things in the kitchen.
Okay,
And
dear.
then two tools, you tell me you're going UK and you're going to talk about planes. So how we reach from mix up in the kitchen
Um,
to sustainability in Caribbean aviation? I feel like there's
uh, there's a gap somewhere in between
some
there.
happen. How we reach there?
So, okay. So, when I was finished high school, I really
Mm,
wanted to be a pilot. I really, really wanted to be a pilot. But if you know what pilot training is, bro, arm, leg, stomach, and your eyelash them, right? It
yes.
costs enough money.
Mm-hmm.
So When I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what, thinking about my life plan and stuff like that. And I was just like, maybe after sixth form college, I would go off to do my pilot studies.
Mhm.
And when I was thinking about what subjects I could be choosing, I was just like, wait, I'm not going to be flying all the time.
Mhm.
I'm going to need a skill. So
Mhm.
that's how I went into culinary arts because at that point in time, I thought like having a skill was very, 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 very important,
Mhm.
especially a skill with a degree.
Yeah.
So it was my associate's degree. And that was my train of thought. I was just like, having that skill is very, very important. Because I know I had some people, even in my church, they were just like, culinary arts. Like, Dennis, you literally could have just gone to Cape. Like, why you choose that of all things? I'm just like, nah, nah, nah. I got a vision. I got a vision.
Mhm.
So that's how I was able to say, I'm not gonna be flying all the time. I'm gonna be um in my spare time, I could do catering. I could maybe work in a kitchen or something like that. So that's why I did culinary arts. And then when I went to UE, I was just like, let's do tourism. It's all
Mhm.
within the same field. It's still
Yeah.
within the aviation industry as well too.
Mhm.
And then I think I wanted to just get a lot more into aviation, hence why I did my postgraduate studies um in aviation itself. Like cooking would always be a part of me. It definitely would always be a part of
Yeah.
me. I would always cook for my friends. I would always make my little videos about how to cook different things. But that was the train of thought
Mhm.
that I had at that point in time. I'm grateful for it as well too,
Yeah.
because I feel like having a skill, especially COVID taught us that having a skill is very important. It's not just
Mhm.
about the degree itself, but having that particular skill. People can always want food. A lot of y'all big backs, okay? You can always want to nap, always want to nap. Okay,
You
so
loud.
having that culinary arts degree, I think it was really really good. It was a good kickstarter,
Mhm.
as well to my entire career, and it was still within the whole realm of tourism, of transportation.
Mhm.
Because studies show time and time again, tourism and aviation, they work hand to hand. They
Yeah.
can't exist without each other. How I got into sustainability, I think it was during my master's program, and it was one particular module I was doing. I can't remember which module it was, but I remember we focused a lot on sustainability, and
Mhm.
I think we had the operations manager. I think it was at that point at Birmingham International Airport. He came in and taught a few topics, and he focused a whole lot on sustainability, looking at noise, measurements of noise at airports, air quality, those different kind of stuff. And then I started to think about it, and I started to have a lot more interest in that particular area. And then during my dissertation, I realized that in comparison to UK and US and Australian and European aviation research, they focus heavily on that sustainability element. So in my dissertation, I realized that this was a gap that was there. Yes, we do a lot of research on what's wrong with air transport. We do
Mhm.
a lot of research on the importance of regional airlines in small island
Mhm.
developing states and stuff like that. But we don't look at the sustainability of it. So
Mhm.
that's really and truly how I was able to pivot to that area because it was missing within the Caribbean. The Caribbean, we're extremely vulnerable to climate change. We rely heavily on aviation as our
Mhm.
main mode of transport. So how is it that the main mode of transport is the one having a lot of carbon emissions, where it contributed significantly to climate change? How exactly it is that we haven't addressed this as yet? Why is this still a gap that's there? So that's how I was able to go from chop 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 in to my tourism degree at UE, and then I
Yeah.
just got a lot more specialized as I
Yeah.
just went up.
I.
Yeah, but I'm still a chef. I'm still a
Yeah, I
chef cooking with
know.
you.
I
Yeah,
know.
still still chefing it up.
I still waiting for my plate.
Yeah,
Mhm. I have something to say
yeah.
though. I have something to say, and it's only going to be controversial in one particular federation. Are you the make good? So, think. That's all.
The Lord
please,
is my
please,
light, my
please take.
joy, and my song
Let's please
by
take
day and
the
by night.
members, the people,
He
Antigua
will
and Barbuda
leave
and Montserrat.
me
If you
alone.
want goat water, if you
The
want goat,
Lord is my light,
think it is
my
a
joy.
this the way. But if you're looking for goat water, call an Antigua or Montserrat. Thank you.
I hope when you're flying to St. Kitts next time, they deny your entry. So you go on.
Them
So
can't
you
deny my
go ahead.
entry. Them
You
can't
go
deny
ahead.
my entry.
They send you right back because you ain't got a manners. You're rude and bright.
My Airbnb
Rude
done
and
book.
bright.
The money done
Rude
tech.
and bright.
I'll
Let
be
me let
in
me go
St.
see
Kitts.
who's minister of national security. Let me go make a call.
Wow.
Camilla Gomes. Bash you from
Wow.
entry into St. Nevis. Rude and bright. Put some respect on our goat water, man. Put some
You
respect on
go
our goat
on your
water.
goat soup. I'm certain it is great. I'm certain the
So
goat
so
soup.
so what's the difference? So if you call it, they're very
No.
identical, you know. They're very, very
No.
identical.
No.
Child.
No, what's in a goat water? The goat
Oh yeah.
and the water. You know what is in what you guys doing over the St. Kitts? I putting provision. I putting kind of thing from the ground sky
Bro, that's
tree.
cap. Because
Tree.
I've had goat water in Montserrat that had provisions in it, even dumpling inside of it.
That's not
Are you
goat.
crazy?
Goat
When we
water
went
is
Montserrat,
goat and water. Thus, it is a
so,
broth. How does
Cam, you're
Americans
giving me a
say
headache.
broth? That is what it is.
You're giving me a headache because I feel you're very disrespectful. And I feel like
I
skittishness
love
and
St. though.
different.
I love St.
You because you're over here
I
disrespecting us.
love St. I've been to St.
I,
Kitts
I,
twice, and recently I love St.
don't
Kitts.
come back.
I love
Don't
St.
come
Kitts.
back. Don't
I
come back. We don't want
particularly
you there.
love the countryside. Very beautiful, very peaceful. Um,
Wow. After you done
I've
cuss us off just a while
I
ago, no, you want
have
to butter us up. You
I
want to butter us up. Wow, that's crazy.
every time I go St. Kitts, I get the greatest time. You know, great opportunities.
I cannot take you serious.
Some of my favorite people is from St. Kitts. Yeah,
Yes,
great
it's true.
great time. Big up St. Kitts one time. Big up St. Kitts.
Wow,
Big
wow.
up,
I'm not gonna forgive that comment just because you said big up St. Kitts, eh? Not
big
because you
up
love St.
St.
Kitts,
Kitts.
not because you love St.
Love
Kitts and it's
St.
just like that.
Kitts. You know,
But
this message is directly to the Prime Minister and to the Minister of National Security, Dr. Terrence. Big up St. Kitts.
wow, Cam.
Because
Oh my god.
if are you not going to let me land in the people of country
Bar her for her disrespectful comments.
when I've
Bar her.
already have my Airbnb booked? Okay,
That's okay. You got
I've
Airbnb. You got
been
flight
there.
book yet?
Don't worry about flight.
Okay, just as I thought. Just as I thought. I wouldn't buy you. Bar her entry. Deny her entry. If you're listening, whoever is the Minister of National Security,
It's the
Camilla
minister.
Gomes.
They gonna spell my
I
name
think
wrong
he's the Prime Minister, you know?
anyways. Drew,
Oh,
Drew,
jeez.
Drew. We took one region, one people.
What?
Drew got me.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Cam. Oh my days. I'm
Remember
just
when I
gonna.
said in the beginning, take a shot every time you laugh? Don't do that. That's not good.
Bro, you see, I tell you, they're gonna be on the floor because you know when me and you together is pure nonsense. Pure nonsense. Every single time. Every single time, you know.
Oh god, it's true, and I had laughing, just hurting me. But Dennis, when we talk
Yes,
about
talk to me.
going from place to place and you talk about that we do it sustainably, I know a lot of the response to that is also like just better ferry systems. Now, I am not opposed to um ferries. However,
Mhm.
okay, how to write it? I am not opposed to ferries for everybody else. However, for myself and my little stomach that go up, down,
Mhm.
left side on the boat
Mhm.
and our very animated waters, right? Like
You'd have to admit.
how I think that's why a lot of people are like, I'm not put me on a plane. But do you still think like as a region, especially between let's say the OECS countries or even the CARICOM countries, like we talk about the importance of free movement and all these things, like can there be an actual proper like ferry network that
Mhm.
you know can
Mhm.
actually move people throughout these islands?
Mhm. Yeah, it can work. To be fair, I know um Caribbean Development Bank has recommended this multiple times as well too.
Mhm.
And there are some studies there that talk about intermodal transportation, so with aviation and the ferry system working hand in hand together. Within
Mhm.
the region, we already have an air quotation mark ferry system where we transport agricultural goods and stuff like that. It can happen for humans as well too.
Mhm.
I think the issue here is just the investment, and I know they've spoken about this multiple times. How can we get people to invest into a big enough ferry that would move throughout the entire region?
Mhm.
Another thing as well too is just the resources.
Mhm.
Do we have the resources in order to support that at our different ports? And I think we kind of do, because I don't think it would use different system to like cruise ports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only thing that would have to implement is maybe like a more robust security system for
Mhm.
scanning and what's not. Build a couple 1, 2 buildings that could help support that and what's not.
Mhm.
It can work. Um, the preference would always be there from a passenger's perspective of flying because it's more
Mhm.
convenient.
Mhm.
But in the long run, we can have somewhat of a balanced approach towards aviation and maritime. So you
Mhm.
you would have a somewhat balance out where using the ferry itself would decrease some of the carbon emissions per passenger
Mhm.
that you would have, because whenever we fly within the region, every single one of us has a carbon footprint,
Yeah.
right? So they account for the emissions per passenger and not entirely about the entire aircraft itself. Sometimes it depends on what it is. So the ferry system can work. It works within our individual islands.
Mhm.
Um, how I see it in my mind is that it doesn't need to go to every single island. So
Mhm.
have your hubs, right? Have your hubs, and then you have um persons could choose whatever other ferries they would want to get to the other smaller islands. So, for example, if the ferry was to pass through St. Martin would be the major hub that's there. But then you
Mhm.
have other ferries that can get you over to Anguilla, could
Yeah.
get to Stacia, could get you where you need to be. The same thing with St. Kitts being a major hub. The same thing with Antigua being a major hub. There's ferries that
Mhm.
go to Montserrat. The same thing with US Virgin Islands and BVI as well too.
Mhm.
Send it to St. Thomas or send it to Tortola, and then there's a lot of ferries within that small space that
Yeah.
run on the O as well, so that can make it work. The same thing for down in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as well. It doesn't need to go to all the Grenadines islands, but they
Mhm.
have the infrastructure is there. The investment is just the investment, and no one was supposed to launch. Um, don't even know. It's supposed to be the first quarter of 2025. I don't even know. But there was one that was supposed to launch between
Oh
Barbados,
yes.
St. Vincent, and something like
Mhm.
that. They had their website, they had all them stuff already up and running. Just think is the investment. That is the problem. How do we uh, how do we fund it? And I think a very important thing as well when we're looking at this, it should be independent from the government. The governments could have a buy into it. They could have a
Mhm.
small stake in it, but having a majority stake, I don't think it would benefit people that much,
Mhm.
because research has shown political interference within the transportation system is very disadvantageous.
You don't have
Very, very much so.
you don't have
And
to tell me that twice.
yeah, it's not a very, very good thing, and that's where there was a lot of privatization within the aviation industry, because then you would have deregulation, which would then increase competition and all them different yada 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 stuff. But
Yeah.
it can work. It can
Mhm.
work if we have an um intermodal transportation system with maritime and with aviation. It definitely can work. I think Caribbean Development Bank has done this study already too. And I think I trying to remember where it is I had read it. I can't remember where it was. It was even my suggestion for this. Let's say, for example, you wanted to go to one of the Grenadine Islands, right? Or even
Mhm.
within the Bahamas. We know they got lots of different islands there.
Mhm.
The plane would fly straight into Argyle, I think it is, right? And then you would have a swift transfer of your bags from the airport
To the port.
um to the port, and then you board whichever ferry or whatever it is that you want to do. It would work almost similar to what they have in the Maldives, where you come from your international flight. There's a seamless transfer from Mali International Airport to the seaport to take a seaplane to the different small little islands. So it would work kinda ish, but I don't know if people will be willing, and then there's a lot of legal aspects behind it because the governments don't own the ferries,
Yeah.
so there would be some legal stuff that would have to be worked out. But that's beyond my scope. I ain't a lawyer, that for me to figure out. But it can work. It's just the resources, Cam. It really and truly is just the resources,
Mhm.
and we have to have the actual willpower to do it. And as I said before, previous times, don't go up on your stage with all your mobby talking, and then the output is fraud. Like, bro, like, put your money where your mouth is, right? I know it will be very, very hard in the short term. It's gonna be difficult, but let's look
Mhm.
at the long term for it. Don't just look at, oh, what can I accomplish in the 5 years that I'm in government? Think about what can happen even when you leave government. How is it that I'm ensuring that the future of my particular nation, the future of the region, is prospering? Literally, that's all. But
So
we know how people stay.
you're trying to say that I can't get everything done in one term and somebody else who possibly getting elected could take credit? Why would I do that? Hmm? Why would I do that, Dennis? Why would
Well,
I not try to rush other everything the year before elections? Why wouldn't I do that?
Charles, ask majority of these government leaders. Can't answer you there. Ask majority of them. There's no sort of planning or nothing. Just like
I
you said,
always
this
tell
party politics thing. Mm,
I always
uh-uh.
tell people St. Martin is such a case study. Wow. We could analyze St. Martin on so many different levels. From a political standpoint, economic standpoint, psychological
Oh,
standpoint,
jeez.
so many different levels.
Oh my
Um,
days.
but I tell people all the time, we have like a 10-year national development plan every 3 years. Just because our government
Oh,
always falling with us, that's another story. Um, but when we talk about governments and longevity, while as somebody from the country of St. Martin who cannot relate to the idea of longevity, I asked this question to a group of friends the other day. Like,
okay.
we know Caribbean prime ministers have the ability to, sure, we have elections relatively, often. When we
Mm,
do dem- democracy indexes and we talk about the level of democracy, especially within CARICOM countries, maybe except for Haiti, you know, democracy levels is high because we have quote unquote free and fair elections. With that being said, there have been people that have been prime minister all of my life. Okay? I will be 26 years old this year. Okay? Or there are people who are on track to be prime minister for people lives that have gone recently who are currently there are some young people in this world that only know certain people as one prime minister, right? So my question to you is, out of these three names, from Prime Minister Gaston Brown, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, and Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, who do you think is the first person to not be prime minister? This silence is loud. Wow.
Wow, is this spring water? Like, is this a special edition? Like, wow, that's crazy. What?
Yo, this I
Wow.
hate you so much that it's making me.
Wow. What a question, Cam. Wow.
I don't have an answer, by the
Who would
way.
who would be the first one to not be prime minister in next election? I
Not
think
just in next election, but just in,
in general,
Mhm.
I think Skerritt would go first. He's young and stuff like that. But I know that he made some comments about it. He has made comments about it about not being re-elected as prime minister. Um
So I also thought that in conversation with fellow Dominicans, they tell me, don't bother with what he said.
oh
I said,
gosh.
okay.
Oh gosh. Yeah, just looking at it and looking at how they talk and just looking at how they present themselves. Um just going on face value.
Face value.
Um
We don't know the problems everybody face. Da, da, da. This is
yeah.
from an outsider perspective.
An outsider's perspective, I think Skerritt one. Um Ralph two, Gaston three. Gaston ain't going nowhere. Let's be very, very honest about that. This young man, this young man does what he wants. Okay? We know that for a fact. I don't think that he's gonna be going anywhere anytime soon. I would put my bet on Skerritt, to be fair. And I really hope that he would lead the way forward
By
to
example.
yeah, by example. So hopefully some other countries would follow. I know Sinkis and Nevis, they followed
I'm
in terms of
actually
changing their prime minister the other day, where Dr. Douglas wasn't the prime minister and he was the prime minister for almost 20 something, it's 20 something years, I think it was.
mhm.
And we had Dr. Drew coming up there. I know in Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah, it's
um
Keith retired.
Uncle Keith said that he going home,
He
so
said peace.
which is a really, really good thing. But I think no no what don't know what is it within the Caribbean that people just love to hold on to this sense of power. But you know what?
We have
I don't want to be denied entry into certain countries, to be quite
real,
honest, whenever it's
very
time for me to go back home.
very real.
But I really think this is something that we need to think about. Um bruh,
I think it's a question because like okay, we talk about it a lot in the context of American politics, especially when we see like senators falling. You know, every other day, some old person in Congress fall down and hurt them hip. You know, I guess do you think? Um, but we also need to have that conversation of career politicians in the region because
mm-hmm.
yeah, like
Facts.
okay, cool, you know, you were the young spunky politician, but
Mm-hmm. Back
you
in the day. Mm-hmm.
were the young spunky
Yeah.
politician. You
No, you're not.
know,
You're the
like
politician that needs some WD-40 in your knees now.
yeah.
Go home and work your garden,
And,
please.
and I'm not here to say that experience is not important in politics. Like in St. Martin, we are at a weird we're at a weird transition where a lot of the older politicians are not running anymore. And then there's
Mhm.
this gap. There's this gap of
Mhm.
knowledge and gap
Mhm.
of expertise and gap of stuff. And so now you see a lot of new politicians that, I'll be frank. I don't watch, me, I used to watch the Parliament of St. Martin every single time they had a meeting.
Mhm.
I cannot watch Parliament these
Oh,
days.
oh my
And
days.
it's kind of shameful because these are, a lot of our parliamentarians are young. Like,
Mhm.
there are a few older, probably two members that are like seasoned older politicians, but
Mhm.
most of them are maybe early 40s. Most of parliament are in their 30s.
Mhm.
And I don't know if this is this situation for me where I feel shame. Um, but a lot of them can't talk, and
Oh dear.
I just like, I struggle to just be able to even concentrate and understand what's happening in the country
Mhm. Mhm.
just because of that knowledge gap. And I feel like it's going to continue if you wait to sit down till you're old to leave, and then while you're sitting down and old, you're worrying with the
Mhm.
young people and you're not
Mhm.
teaching the young people. So by the time they get into these positions, they have no idea what to do. Them can't handle themselves. And now we're
Mhm.
in a place where it's just like,
Mhm.
and then because of
Mhm.
that, people are going to go and say, this is why we can't have young people running the
Young
country.
people. One of the
And
things when you was
oh
bro, when you was there talking, I think one of the something that just popped up in my mind is, are politicians trained to be politicians?
no.
Or like, do you get up one day and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna be a politician and this
Yes.
is what I'm gonna do? And I think a way to get around this is to let's actually train politicians. Let's actually, I don't know what happens in different countries and stuff like that, but I'm here thinking, do we have are they media trained? Well, clearly not with politicians because them they don't just anyways. Are they media trained? Do they have training sessions on leadership? Um, do we even have shadow ministries, to be fair, or shadow ministers, or have really good mentorship programs for politicians
Mhm.
to really and truly fill that gap of knowledge and experience and of practice? Do we share good practices across the entire region, especially we're
Mhm.
looking at the CARICOM organization, even with OECS, do we share good practices amongst these different politicians? I think this is some very important questions to have because I would assume that because you're a politician, you're supposed to behave in a certain type of way. But telling somebody on social media to go and look for their mother or XYZ, explicit, is not becoming of a politician, especially the leader of a country. So
Mhm.
I think these are some questions to ask. Are they media trained? Do they do like leadership training and stuff like that?
Okay.
Like,
So
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I can talk for the Parliament of St. Martin. Our secretariat, like our secretary general and the office, like the people that run Parliament per se. Every time there's a new cohort, I will say they do have trainings in the sense
Hmm.
of,
For parliamentary procedures.
yeah, so they do some parliamentary procedures, they do like some constitutional stuff. They meet with the different high councils of state, have different trainings and things like that. I know the former ombudsman has consistently like done like trainings and stuff with them. However, is also, do you show up? And second of all, do you retain the information?
Information
Right.
is there.
Because even though like, while I'm appreciative of the fact that that these educational opportunities, especially for the new parliamentarians that have never been in public office or anything before, that is
Hmm.
available, you still pose the question of, you know is this something that should be continuous throughout each parliamentary year, throughout the okay, for us we have 4 years, but like for the rest of the region, is this something that they should continuously be doing? Meet with the specific constitutional legal experts um throughout the you know yeah, and of course politics not always play, and you're always going to find way to tell somebody them not doing them job, etc., etc.
Sure.
But it's at how do you do it, right? I've been posing a question to myself, like, we always talk about great Caribbean leaders, but we always talk about great Caribbean leaders as people who were the leaders during the transition during independence, when a lot of these CARICOM countries became independent. You rarely, rarely say, ah, yes, there's a great prime minister, and you refer somebody from the 21st century. Rarely.
Wow.
The only
Think of
person I can see that have the ability to be put in those conversations, and this is from a global perspective, would be PM Motley.
Yeah,
But
true.
then when you sit down and you talk to Barbadians,
To be Asian,
they
it's another story.
they have another story to say.
Yeah, it's another story.
But the fact that our representation of great Caribbean leaders, because they make noise on the global stage, is PM Motley and PM Brown, and we try to figure out, like, what is the politician problem that we have? Why don't we have great politicians? And then you think about it, our politicians are not these scholarly persons either anymore, right? They're not writing their papers, they're not publishing in their speeches, they're not finding strange innovative ways, whether it works or not, because a lot of the greats that we highlight have put things in positions that, we're reaping the problems of what they sowed. However, they had some kind of reasoning behind of it. Or even if the reasoning was pocket greasing, they could have make up some type of philosophical, like, and you buy into it.
Yeah.
No, me ask you, okay, why you do this?
Like, okay.
And then they start talking about your mother. Whoa, there. You can't even make up something deep to say. And it's funny because I always tell people that in the context of St. Martin, because the Dutch prosecutor office and stuff, they very much have started be like, all right, we're gonna start locking up politicians. We got a good bit of politicians in jail right now, right? And I always tell people, when they come out and they're banned from running in public elections, come out, they might be the ones to get reelected because they have those personalities and qualities that, like, people grab onto for people to be like, whether they've done good or bad for the country, they can get that great leader type of status. And what we have now with our young, they don't have that personality, or they don't have the willing or the passion to do the work. Or when they come up with their their rebuttals and stuff, it's always weak. Why is it weak? You're not like remembering you did that, so now you need to try to reframe how you did that in order in your rebuttal. But now you look tebe, because it's like, no, like, that's not. And then of course then you pose the other problem within the region about weak oppositions and da 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 da. But that's like some deep things I've been thinking about. And then every time they be like, that's why you should run. No, leave me alone.
Maybe okay, maybe you shouldn't run, but maybe you should, like, you should have a consultancy firm that looks at
I
how can we make
will
better
be
politicians.
charging.
Of course,
minimum
charge,
five.
come.
I will be charging minimum five figures.
I don't wrong you. I
Mindful.
really, really don't wrong you. It's a question that I really, really, I think this would be a really good research area as well. To what makes a politician in the Caribbean. So anybody out there that's doing political science, that's looking psychology, that's looking at behavioral psychology as well too. I
Mm-hmm.
think these are some very good research area. What makes a politician in the Caribbean region?
Yeah.
Um, what are the traits, and even outside of the traits, like what are the skills that are needed, what I think that would be a really, really, really good research area because
Mm-hmm.
bruh, I don't know, we have some politicians in the Caribbean, you'd swear to God they get dragged up, like no sort of brought up scene, no sort of nothing, and sometimes when they speak, you literally just gotta be like, what are you saying? Like, do you hear yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And there's one particular politician, every time she opens her mouth, I'm just like, please, girl, just no. Just no. Please just be quiet, bro.
I feel like
Like,
that about someone. I sometimes I mute. I just be like, okay, mute. I just
I just I don't understand. Like, is it, and this is why I go back what I was talking about before, playing in people's faces
yes.
every single time we have that wonderful lady down in Trinidad, every time she opens her mouth, I'm just like, do you not have friends? Do you not have sensible colleagues to tell you that, bro, you're chatting ridiculousness? And the thing is, within the region, we have this party politics, and no matter what your party do, you're gonna support them at all times. But I think we need to invoke some critical thinking skills into the entire region. I don't know if we need to pass through the region with a candle or some sage and mark critical thinking on top of it, and just try to get people to like, bro, these people are playing in your face. Stop letting these people playing in your face. And I feel like she's a perfect example of one of them people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that party has some deep history because of whatever happened in Trinidad at that point in time. But I think for the rest of us in the region, especially within my friend group, we listen to her talk and we're just like, brother man, do you hear yourself? Like, do you go back home and then listen to your press releases? Like,
I think
you
that's
just really,
a big thing. Like the question is, do you hear yourself?
I think they don't. Some of them are
They
very tone deaf.
don't. They don't. And it's like, okay, cool. You said that. Do you believe that?
Are you? And we have another problem as well too with our oppositions. They're just opposing for opposing's sake.
Yes.
But I feel like that's another podcast by itself, and that would take a lot of different hours to dissect and stuff like that. But it is, I find that to be a major problem within our region. We have and this is why I said it's a really, really good research area. What makes a politician within the region? Because why is it that for example, why is it that you would have a politician having a certain degree, but they are responsible for something that they have no sort of the degree in?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had this argument before when somebody made a very good point when they said that it's okay for the minister to have a degree in something else, or just there for a leadership. But when it comes to the PS themselves, the permanent secretary should be the person that's qualified within that particular field. But I think it should go hand in hand. But that's a conversation for another day. That's a podcast by itself. That's a research paper
That's
by
a research
itself that
paper by itself.
I don't even want to get involved
Like,
in as well too.
I have questions. Like, okay, I've seen, and then also, but sometimes because you also have the expertise, that also doesn't mean you can make a good minister as well. So that's where the
Child,
problem lies in sometimes,
child.
because I've seen people who are educators mash up the Ministry of Education. So
You sure?
it's like is that balance is like, okay, yes, you need to have the knowledge and the expertise, but you also need to have these leadership qualities. Do we have people that have that balance? I
And
don't
it come back
know.
comes back to the same question about what makes a politician a politician. What type of training do they get? Do we have do you just get up one day and just be like, yo, I'm gonna be a politician? Like, what mechanisms do we have in place to ensure there's good succession planning to ensure that we don't have that particular gap in terms of
Mm-hmm.
knowledge and age and experience? Like, do these ministers come back and actually be mentors towards these particular individuals? I don't know here. I'm gonna leave it at the foot of the cross because politics is one thing that I do not want to get myself involved in. And people tell me, "Oh, Dennis, be a politician," and I'm just like, "No, you're gonna hate me because I one thing with me, I don't tolerate nonsense. Like, I really don't tolerate nonsense, and I don't see how we could have one problem 20 years ago existing and you still have the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't understand how we let these things slide through. I don't understand how when we come into power and we say our idea or investment that the previous administration had, we automatically scrap it just because could or just because I want to and just because it wasn't my idea. These kind of things I can never see. I don't think I would ever understand it, no matter how many times they might talk about it or whatever. And I don't know. And I think, I'm a little bit off the script, but I think this needs to be said.
Yes, say it. Say it.
When you're in power,
Mm-hmm.
right, for X amount of years, why are we still blaming things on the previous administration? Focus on what is in front of you. You shouldn't be in power for almost 3, 4 years and you're saying the previous administration. If you don't get yourself together, I don't like these type of cop-outs and we see it throughout the region. We see it, it's a problem, bro. There's a
Look,
lack of accountability.
people would
And this is
be
why I
in
come back like,
power.
bro,
People would be in power for 15 years and they'll still say the previous administration.
like be for real. And this is what I say now, playing in people's faces. And because of party politics, we
Oh,
lap it up like hungry dogs. We lap it
yeah.
up. Like,
And you
bro,
know what? I also
no.
think about party politics all the time, right? Okay, so I, and it is ingrained in our society. Yada 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 yada. Well, the conversation about cultural shift and change when we talk about politics, that's again, like you said, a whole nother episode. However, when we talk about that training, what are you doing within your party?
Sis,
You're trying to
very good
say you're
question.
trying to say you're trying to be here forever, longevity. What are you doing
Mhm,
within your party structure to develop said longevity? And then
mhm,
when fully come out said party, and nobody wants to, support that
mhm,
anymore, or now you're getting offensive. And defensive, and you're talking about,
child.
yeah, but remember, your family have been. By the way, that happened to me. By the way, I went to vote, and or I went to vote in the last election because in typical St. Martin fashion, we had elections in January and then we had elections in August. Um, so I when I went to vote in the August election, a politician came up to me and was like, I hope even if you didn't give me your vote, because we don't have, okay, to give context, we're not a first past the post system, so we don't have constitutional reps. We just, you open the ballot, you see the 100 and somebody people, you got to choose one,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So he was like, even if you didn't give me a vote, I hope you vote for the family, because your family, vote for my party because your family has traditionally been in support of this party, and we know that you're going to continue to support this party, and when you return home, that you will contribute to this party and even serve in ministerial positions.
You see what I'm talking about with playing in people's faces?
I said,
So because my family loves struggle, I must struggle too.
I
Oh no,
said,
got me so good.
I said, I
Crazy.
just nod my head. I said, all right, thank you.
Bro, you finna tell
Because,
him good luck.
because,
Go with God and be blessed.
because let's say I
Crazy.
indeed had the intention to vote for said party. That whole conversation could have just
To turn you
make me
off.
not vote for the party.
Exactly.
So it's like those type of things, and like, how do you bridge the gap, and what you doing to bridge the gap, and the opportunities, etc., that you're presented with. Anyways, I'm not going to
Child,
I'm not going to lambaste on it too much.
child.
Dennis, you have anything to tell me before we wrap up? Anything to ask me? Say you want to get off your chest? You want to a key a little bit more?
um, I want to say, hmm, within the region currently, looking from an aviation perspective, yes, I understand that the prices are still very high, but I think the competition that we have within the region right now is very healthy.
I
And I think in
agree.
the long run, it's definitely going to help us. You can see the benefits in the long run.
Mhm.
The competition right now is very, very healthy where
Mhm.
we have Liat at that point in time was dominating. He had a monopoly on majority of the routes that was there, but then we
Yeah.
see these airlines coming in a whole lot more, wind expanding. We see Inter-Caribbean with their rapid expansion.
Mhm.
We see Caribbean Airlines with their rapid expansion as well, so and even Liat 20 coming in with their rapid expansion. I think the competition is very, very healthy. It's giving people options, and that is what I love. The options might not be the best because of the prices, but the competition is really good, and I think it's gonna benefit us in the long run. We still have a lot to do within the region as it relates to our taxes,
Mhm.
the TFCs, the taxes, fees, and charges. The governments can do a lot more, to lower them. They need to stop looking at aviation as a cash cow, right?
Hmm.
Really need to think about it. Traveling in the Caribbean should not be that expensive at all because right now I could book a flight for £20 to go to Spain. That's 2 hours on something away, right? So it should not be like that within the region itself. This is my plea. We need to embed sustainability into all areas of aviation operations throughout the entire Caribbean. There's
Mhm.
something called the Airport Council International um Carbon Accreditation Program. I think that all our airports should sign, not I wouldn't say sign on to it, but should aim to get at least the level 1 accreditation.
Mhm.
We're vulnerable to climate change. We need to do our part. We focus a lot about sustainable development and driving sustainability, but we need to touch on it on every single industry, and that is very much lacking within the aviation industry. And they really need to start doing things. The
Yes.
Dutch Caribbean, they have led the way in terms of embedding sustainability into the operation of different airports. But it's time for all of us to, it's time for the other Caribbean countries to catch on to it. And this goes to the airlines as well. I
Mhm.
know with Caribbean Airlines, they have sustainability kind of like embedded
Yes.
into their operations.
Mhm.
But I think it's time for every single Caribbean airline should have a sustainability plan. It should be there. I know decarbonization within the region from an airline perspective is kind of hard because we
Yeah.
don't have access to sustainable aviation fuel. But there are little things here and there that we can do. There's something called carbon offsetting that I think that every single airline within the Caribbean should look to get to be part of, because if I'm not mistaken, majority of the Caribbean islands are signed on to something called CARSIO, which is a um carbon reduction scheme for international aviation. We're looking at the airlines that are flying between the signatories of CARSIO. You have to buy carbon bucks to then offset your carbon emissions. I really think that within the region itself, we should work together as airlines to actually come together and have a sustainability plan.
Mm-hmm.
How exactly are we going to be decarbonizing the entire aviation industry? How exactly that can we drive sustainability? And sustainability is not just about, oh, when you leave the office, you're turning off a light. Please spare me, right? You can look at the other elements of it. There's a social, there's an economic,
Mm-hmm.
there's an environmental pillar to it. We focus primarily on the environmental part because it's very important, but we need to look at every single one of those all of those pillars. Another thing as well is that aviation is one of the safest industries in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
It is operated based on safety.
Mm-hmm.
Safety is one of the fundamental parts about it. Yes, I know that we've been seeing a lot more accidents. Well, we're knowing about a lot more accidents within the industry, but these things happen very often. These things happen kind of on a daily basis, to
Mm-hmm.
be quite honest. The minor accidents as well, and I feel like the media isn't doing a good job in terms of portraying what's been happening, and there's a lot of high levels of fear mongering,
Mm-hmm.
and it making people a lot more fearful to fly.
Yeah.
um in order for you to even take off from one place, there's so many different protocols that are in place to ensure
Mm-hmm.
that the plane can fly. Looking at within America, FAA does random checks on random airlines every single day. It happens. We have these safety oversight organizations to ensure that the aviation industry is the safest. We have the annexes as well
Mm-hmm.
to ensure, coming from ICAO, to ensure that every single element of the aviation industry is operated in a safe way. So, guys, it is safe to fly. It really and truly is safe to fly. There will be a few instances where you would have some human errors, and it would be some really stupid human errors as a matter of fact. But the industry is actually it is very, very safe to fly, especially within the Caribbean. We have one of the one of the best safety records
Mm-hmm.
as it relates to aviation.
Yeah.
So don't worry, trust your pilots, trust
Yeah. And as I
your
said
airport
last
staff.
week, last episode, talking to Zoe, big up to Zoe one time, friend of the podcast, friend of ours. Um, we also have some of the most skilled pilots as well in the region as
Facts,
well. So it's like
facts.
trust your people, them got you.
Yeah, it's safe. Um, I love the aviation industry with all my heart. Like these are things that I have to teach students on a weekly basis,
Mm-hmm.
looking at safety law, looking at um crew resource management, ensuring that there's proper communication with the crew to ensure the safety of passengers and also to ensure the safety of cargo as well too, because
Mm-hmm.
that forms a very, very big part of the aviation
Yeah.
industry too. But things are in place. It's not just no random checks and stuff here. There are different things that
Yeah.
have to happen on a daily basis before you could even fly, before that plane could even go on the ramp for passengers to board. And as I said before, human errors do happen with every single thing in life, but within the aviation industry, these are like some very, very stupid human errors, to be quite honest. Very, very stupid human errors that would happen. But don't be scared, man. Don't be scared. I think that's me 2 cents. Don't be scared and to fly because it's very, very safe. And the first one I was talking about is the importance of sustainability
Mm-hmm.
within all areas of aviation operations. And this is my plug here. Airports and airlines, you need to hire a sustainability expert.
Guys,
Don't just hire somebody just because you need
call
to hire
Dennis.
sustainability. I would be so happy to be a consultant for
Call
airports and airlines.
Dennis, guys.
Like,
He can charge
yeah,
you, yeah, no, but you have the budget.
leave.
Call him.
Best believe, like we can do it. We can share best practices
Mm-hmm.
with each other as well too. The Dutch Caribbean have been, and I would always show praises to the Dutch Caribbean in terms of what they're doing for the aviation industry, in terms of reducing their fees, in terms of looking at how they can make sustainability how they can make it their Bible per
Mm-hmm.
se, to be quite honest. And they are accredited as well too. I think they have a few accreditations from Airport Council International as it relates to their carbon their carbon planning and their carbon emissions and carbon offsetting as well too. So these are different areas that we really and truly need to look at within the region, and then we'll just go from there. Yeah.
That's true. So, Dennis, how can they call you? Where they can find you to call you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very chatty over there. I post a lot of my thoughts and what I've been up to on LinkedIn. That's how you can get me professionally. Just look for Dennis McCall Jr. Um, if you want a Kiki and a Kaka, you can just find me on Instagram at JAE31. I think I'm somewhat open in terms of like who's following me. If you just want to chit chat, but from a professional standpoint, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just give me a shout on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah, what the man say? The man is knowledgeable. He had to be knowledgeable because doctor,
Come
that's
on now.
doctor.
Lighter. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Y'all, this is me and Cam on a daily basis, eh?
oh
This
God.
calculate on a daily basis. Oh my
I don't
days.
want to know what me and Dennis to really be talking about. Like,
Foolishness. A bunch of foolishness. But with all good intentions. With all good
all
intentions, man.
okay. I think yeah,
80%.
yeah,
Eh,
80%, 80%
80%.
good intention.
80% is fairly good
Yeah,
intentions. Yeah, yeah.
good intentions though. Thank you so much, Dennis. Once again, as
Anytime.
always, I am very proud of you and that you've done. Like a boy from St. Kitts, St. Kitts bigger than me than us, but you're still little, small island, massive, make some noise.
Pop, 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 pop.
But no, I'm very proud of you, and again, thank you for being here. So
Um,
while that might not be the case, now make sure you guys do, because I forgot to plug this last episode. This is the You Chat Too Much podcast. We are available wherever you get podcasts, and we're available on YouTube. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the podcast stream, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. Follow the Instagram. And if you are so nice and kind and dandy to go to my Substack, which is camillagums.substack.com.
Wonderful Substack.
And you feel it compelled in your spirit to give $8 a month. No, if that was your last $8, do not give it to me because I don't want to hear or you say, Camilla, take my last $8 out of my account. But if you do feel compelled to do that, you subscribe over there because over there are going to have bonus episodes.
Come on, guys.
Bonus episodes of the podcast. They're gonna be short. They're gonna be sweet. It's mostly gonna be me rambling, anyways. And then we're also going to have special content from my pen and from my brain. So if you think I say cool stuff and you want to hear me talk for another 20 minutes, $8 a month. Nothing too crazy.
Guys.
But if you don't have it, because I don't have it, I don't have $8 a month to give myself. It's all fine. And with that being said, this was today's episode. Thank you, Dennis. And I'll see you next time.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye guys.